You are watching Linux Mint 13 XFCE Bootcamp, and I know a lot of you have been waiting for this episode. Today I'm going to be covering Wine. Wine is not an emulator. It is a compatibility layer which will allow you to run your Windows applications and games natively in Linux. And today I'm going to cover two front ends, both PlayOnLinux and Vineyard, very briefly. I will do all of that right after I roll the intro. Okay, let's begin. Alright, we are in my virtual install of Linux Mint 13. And there are two applications we're going to be installing today. These are both front ends to Wine. And once I'm completed installing these applications, I'm actually going to close my virtual machine because I already have these applications installed on my main machine or main desktop environment. And I have some Windows applications that I'm going to install that I want to use regularly. And I'm not really going to spend much time playing around in my virtual machine install of this. But for those of you who are interested in using Wine, I actually have a series on that. And if you stumbled across this video through YouTube, you will see there is a logo here that says, "Get your cup of Linux here." If you click that logo, you should be taken to the Featured tab on my page. If you are a subscriber, you will most likely be taken to my feed. But in the Featured tab here, you will see as we scroll down that I have a playlist here called Wine, Run Windows Apps and Games. If you click on this here, you will see that I have about 5 videos here where I cover installing applications and games in Wine using different tools. Now, the tools I prefer to use the most are called PlayOnLinux and Vineyard. And both of these are terrific front ends for getting those problematic Windows applications and games running. Just something to keep in mind though, running applications and games in Linux that are designed for Windows still is hit or miss, but Wine is improving and more applications are opening up, and we are starting to see more applications find compatibility within the Linux ecosystem. So I'm really pleased with what Wine has been doing, and a great way that you can give something back to the Wine project is by supporting them. And this is easily done by visiting codeweavers.com and getting your copy of Crossover. They have both Crossover and Crossover games. These will allow you to, this is also another program that you can get for running Windows applications and games. And the nice thing about this software about this company is the fact that they are continuously contributing code over to the Wine project. So if you want to give something back, I highly recommend you check this site and purchase a copy of this. Now, I'm not going to be doing a demonstration with the Crossover suite, as it's been a while since I have sent some coin to this company, and my copy of it is a little bit outdated. I think by about 4 or 5 months. I don't have the latest release, so I won't be demonstrating that in this series. I want to just cover the free stuff for you guys. Okay, first, to get PlayOnLinux, simply open up your terminal. If you followed all the tutorials in this series, all you have to do is press F12 and you will have a drop-down terminal that looks like this. And then just simply issue this command to get PlayOnLinux. Sudo apt-get -get install PlayOnLinux. It will ask you for your password. Now we'll go through the process of installing this. This may take a while. Now that installation has completed, we can press F12 to hide our terminal, and now we can just press the Mint menu and just type in play, and PlayOnLinux is here. The first time you run this, a wizard's going to pop up stating, it looks like this is your first time running the program, and it is going to go ahead and configure Wine for you. Okay, it's going to give us some information here. Microsoft fonts aren't installed, so it will most likely go ahead and download all of those, and then of course it'll download Mono and a few other little things that it needs. It's going to set up your wine configurations and all of that other fun stuff. You're going to probably see this: Wine could not find a gecko package which is needed for applications embedding HTML to work correctly. So we'll go ahead and press install on this and allow this to complete. Okay, now that that has installed, it is ready for us to use. But I'm not ready to start using this yet. I want to show you another front end that you can get. And of course, this is called Vineyard. Now, the reason I use Vineyard is because I've had a really high success rate with getting most of my problematic Windows applications running natively under Linux. PlayOnLinux is great for installing games, but Vineyard really hands down has it for getting those Windows applications running. So let's go ahead and hit download here. And this is where we want to get the code necessary for installing this. Okay, and we want the daily builds, the PPA Cybolic vineyard-testing. This is the one I use. They're stating that the stable build is really, really old, so I like to stay a little bit on the bleeding edge. So we're going to copy this PPA line, and then we're going to open up our software sources. It's going to ask for the password. And then under Other Software, we are going to select Add. And we're going to paste this line. And then Add Source. Now, something to keep in mind is when you add a source this way, what's going to happen is it's going to put Maya in here. So if you go to try to install Vineyard after running sudo apt-get update, it's not going to be able to connect because Maya isn't in its repository. So we're going to have to edit this. And instead of Maya, we're going to name this to Precise. And like the algebra teacher taught you, what you do to one side of the equation, you must do to the other. Okay, now that that is done, we can close this and open our terminal. Sudo apt-get update and now we can run sudo apt-get install vineyard. And of course press enter when it asks you if you want to continue. Okay, good. Now that has completed, we have no errors. I just wanted to mention this because some of you in my past episodes have mentioned that you ran into errors installing Vineyard. And so just make sure that you have the correct name where you update that in your sources for the distribution that you're running, and everything should be okay. Alright, at this point, I could demonstrate for you here that it is installed. To find it, you have Windows applications, and this program is Vineyard here. Also, when you have an exe file, you can right-click on it and select to open that with Vineyard Wine Launcher. And that will give you options for either making a new wine bottle, or you can use your default wine configuration as shown in some of my other episodes in the playlist that I mentioned before. Okay, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and close my virtual install of Linux Mint XFCE, because I have it installed as my main desktop, and I'm going to actually show this on my actual install here. Let's go ahead and first have a look at PlayOnLinux. Now, PlayOnLinux gives you a lot of options here. There's a game I want to play again, and the last time I played this game, I actually had a Windows 7 partition on my hard drive. And now, officially, Arch has been wiped, and now Linux Mint has my entire hard drive. So now I've got lots of room for installing all of my favorite games and applications. I even bit the bullet and manually installed the ATI driver from the ATI AMD website, and it looks like it's working fairly well. But I need a little bit more time to tinker and play with it and see what happens. But at any rate, the first thing you'll want to do, since we don't have anything installed here in this listing to run, we might as well press the install button. And as you can see, there are a ton of applications that you can, accessories that you can install in here. Well, not a whole lot. There are some development tools. I use Flash 8 and I use Dreamweaver 8. So this is interesting because I could actually use PlayOnLinux to install these, but actually I used Vineyard to install these, and they're working quite well. You have education programs, and then this is where you have a huge list of games that you can run. And in this case, I am going to install The Witcher. I've never been able to get this to work in Linux, so I'm going to go ahead and give this a shot. And let me see, where is it? Here it is, The Witcher Enhanced Edition Director's Cut. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this, and then select Install. Now, a wizard's going to pop up asking me what I want to do and that sort of thing. So what we're going to do is, no, I don't want to download it, but I am going to select where I have it. And of course, I have that in my Downloads folder, in the Witcher folder. And I selected the executable. And then press Next. Now, what it's doing is, it is downloading Wine, the correct version that it needs, and it's going to create a special wine bottle. And it is also going to download all of the necessary dependencies to get this game working. Now, this may take a while for this to proceed, so I'm going to be pausing the video as this goes through. And of course, our WineGecko installer is going to come up again. When you see this, go ahead and press Install. Now we can see that the installer is beginning. Now that our program has passed the file integrity check, we're ready to start installing. Yes, of course, I have read the EULA, and I'm ready to start installation. By the way, I highly recommend goodoldgames.com or GOG.com. They have a bunch of really good games, and as you could see in the listing, there are a lot of games that are supported. in PlayOnLinux. So I highly suggest that you check this out. Also, some of the older games that use DOSBox will run really great on this. So definitely well worth your time to check this out. Also, GOG.com has a forum that you can speak with other Linux users like yourself who have been able to get a number of these games working beautifully on their Linux systems. Okay, now that our installation has completed, we can press to launch the game. Okay, at this point, now it's going to download other dependencies that it needs. Looks like it's downloading DirectX. When I launched the game, obviously it didn't give me all the graphics and everything like that, and it was kind of misbehaving a little bit. And so please don't press launch after the game's finished installing. Definitely let PlayOnLinux install the additional dependencies. I thought it had done this transparently in the background. Okay, now that the dependencies are finished, let's go ahead and click on this and select Run. Well, it looks like I'm going to have to tweak some of the graphics capabilities to get a better look, and it was playing a little choppy, obviously because I had my screencaster running at the same time, and that uses quite a bit of CPU, but overall I am pleased with how this is looking, and so, yeah, definitely. PlayOnLinux definitely got that working. I was never able to get this game working before, so that was a great experiment. Now, let's go ahead and move on to Vineyard. Okay, in some of my other videos in my Wine series, I cover Vineyard and PlayOnLinux in a little bit better detail. So sorry if I don't cover too much detail, because I have already covered a lot of this previously. But now I have a little icon program I like to use for making icons for web pages and that sort of thing that I've designed in the past. And this is a neat little freeware utility called IcoEffects. And so to install this program, I just simply need to right-click on it and select Open with Vineyard Wine Launcher. You can also open this with Wine Windows Program Loader, but I prefer the Vineyard Wine Launcher, so let's go ahead and select this. And it will ask me which default configuration do I want. I'm just going to install this in default, but I can select a new configuration if I wish to. Optionally, I can also install support packages such as Direct3D, Flash, DivX, Xvid, different little programs that this might need. I'm not going to install any of these. Okay, and I'm just going to press OK. Now, Vineyard Wine Launcher has opened the setup program. We'll press Next. Of course, we accept the agreement. We will install this to the default location. This looks good. We'll tell it to create a desktop icon so we can access it easily, and then install. And then, of course, we can finish to launch it. And here we are. We have IcoEffects open right here. And now I can start editing and creating icons for whatever I choose to make. Create a new file here, and now I can just start drawing and, making a little icon. And pretty much maybe change some colors here, and now I can make a nice looking rose-like graphic if I want to. Nothing to it, really. And now I've got a little rose icon. Well, nothing fancy, but you get the idea. So pretty much that's all there is to it. And of course, sometimes the setup program, you'll get an error message, but you could see I got the program working just fine. Okay, well, that is all I have on this episode. I hope you guys will be able to get your Windows applications and games working. I always recommend checking out winehq.com for details on getting some applications running. If you ask me, can I get application X running, odds are I might not even use that application, and I may not know how to get that working for you. So definitely make use of Mr. Google. He is your friend in that instance. Also, be sure to check out those videos that I mentioned that are in my playlist. It will help you to get a better understanding of using PlayOnLinux and Vineyard. In my next episode, I'm going to finish off the Linux Mint 13 XFCE Bootcamp by covering some of the default applications that come pre-installed on this operating system.